First Nations TV, your news first.
In the last couple of days since stepping out of lockdown, we've had 280,000 check-ins. It took us 6 months to get to 4 million. Obviously, we went through the Christmas period, so it's a bit lumpy through there. But I think 280,000 in a couple of days shows that Territorians are taking it more seriously about checking in, and that businesses are being more mindful about reminding people to check in. I think it's a great observation that 280,000 check-ins over a couple of days. That's a very good positive sign of people being compliant with the QR code system. So I thank them for that. It's all looking very good for Territorians, and obviously no new positive cases overnight. I probably should have said that up front. So it's all looking very good here in the Territory, and a particular thanks to everyone who is enjoying the step out of lockdown and being very compliant. While a lot of us are now enjoying stepping back into freedom or close to the freedom that we had before, there are still people who are doing the right thing by the rest of us and are locking down to make sure we keep the virus trapped where it needs to be trapped.
We seem to have controlled this outbreak, but this isn't over yet, so that's why there needs to be some controls. There's been some people who have moved around and probably didn't understand what the lockdown was and travelled to remote communities. We're taking a case management approach with them.
I think we saw all the land councils do that swift revocation of permits. They get how important it is that we lock down hard and that we look after people and where the most vulnerable are. And that at the moment, while we've got a lot of vulnerable on remote communities, in many ways, they're also the safest part of the country too, if we make the right decisions in the right areas as we did this week. So they understand that Alice Springs, Darwin, Palmerston, the rural area, we essentially locked down to make sure they stayed safe. And there was, I believe, a significant amount of gratitude from them for our swift actions. I've seen a lot of land council ads in language. We obviously have a communication unit that does its best in language too. I believe the campaign we've been running generally on COVID across the last 18 months has been acknowledged by the Australian government as the best for remote communities, or the best in language. There's a number of jurisdictions that do this. We try our best to make sure people hear things in the language that they know. Obviously, for many, English is not just a second language, it can be third or fourth. And you go out to some places, Creole can be actually the dominant language, then followed by a native language, and then English back in the queue. So we've got to do our best to make sure information goes out in a variety of languages. We've got some people here in the press pack today who've been very helpful as part of that, and some of the advertising we'll be doing through the remote areas.
Across the rest of the Northern Territory, behaviour has continued to be very good, a standard that we hope maintains. We want people to default to wearing a mask if you have a question. If you feel that you need to ask a question to get clarity, then default to wearing the mask until you find that answer. It's a simple thing to do as we push through to Friday at 1 p.m. this week. Every business owner should have a great sense of community commitment to making sure that people do the right thing, because it's in your best interests that your business will remain open if we can ensure that this spread is contained. So please, to the vast majority, thank you. To the ignorant few, step up your game and do the right thing. And we'll be out of this by Friday if Territorians and those who are visiting here continue to do the right thing.
Here in the Territory, we're now saying anyone entering the Territory post-quarantine in another jurisdiction must get a test within 3 days. So we have learnt that we simply can't trust other people's quarantine systems. Anyone entering the Territory now must get a test on that 3rd day. So that's our way of trying to make sure we minimise and reduce the risk of coronavirus coming into the Northern Territory.
The question about vaccine, for those who've come to the Territory, we are way ahead of the rest of Australia in terms of the percentage of persons vaccinated, and the right people vaccinated first and those who are most at risk. Including mostly in our quarantine facility and airport. Our vaccine program has delivered vaccines way ahead of the supply. So we've been getting vaccine and using it and distributing and administering it in remote locations before we even get the next supply. So a thank you to Territorians, and thank you to our partnership with others to make that happen.
First Nations TV, your news first.